podcast and today I might give you like, a few village suggestions for like, cottagecore like villages for your islands if you're doing cottagecore etc. But what I'm probably going to be doing, I might do like a part 2 of this only because then like include every single villager for for cottagecore in villager suggestions, so I might have to do another one like in a few weeks time etc. So let's get into the video, shall we? There are a few things that I want to clarify when it comes to cottagecore etc. For example, your villages and the exteriors and interiors have to be neutral colours because neutral fits cottagecore very well, so you've got to stick with the neutral colours when it comes to like looking for villages with the same neutral colour palette, and even their house interior and even their interior. If they're all matching, then yeah, you could obviously go for that villager. But sometimes when you go on Wikipedia, you can get a bit carried away when it comes to cottagecore villages because sometimes you just end up picking up the wrong one, like a kidcore villager, fairycore villager, maybe a gothcore villager, or maybe a junglecore villager or something like that. Sometimes that happens a lot, so I was thinking to myself, that's one of my clarifications you gotta look out for. Make sure when you choosing a specific cottagecore villager, make sure they have neutral colours and make sure their house interior and exterior match your vibe before go villager hunting for them etc. That's one of my clarifications for you guys today. So our first villager suggestion I have is Marshall. Well, he kind of gives me those he gives me those cottagecore vibes, and plus he's the most popular villager there is in Animal Crossing New Horizons, because I can't believe it's like every month on animalcrossingpaw.com he's always tier 1, so it makes a lot of sense that he's very popular, and plus he's also first introduced in New Leaf as well, just in case you guys didn't know that etc. Well, I kind of like his exterior because it looks kind of more likely using a bit of white and a few other neutral colours to go with the vibes. So that was my kind of tip for today, is make sure you look for a cottagecore villager that has neutral colours, has an excellent neutral interior and exterior, just to be on the safe side, because not all villages have the same house interior as some of them might do. So if you actually pick Stitches, even though it doesn't fit the cottagecore vibe, and you think to yourself, oh, maybe I made a bit of a mistake, then if need be, you can always look for another cottagecore villager to replace them if need be, if you actually pick Stitches over Marshall, for example. That's what I was probably just giving that as an example, to be honest. But let's get to our next villager suggestion, shall we? So for our next villager suggestion, I have Coco. Well, Coco is definitely one that I'd also recommend for cottagecore because I kind of like her little cottagecore sort of vibe, because she's wearing a neutral sort of outfit to go with her design a little bit, which gives me those sort of vibes. And also I can also say is that exterior is very neutral and plus zen as well, so it kind of gives me those vibes of cottagecore and that stuff, and even the interior gives me that sort of cottagecore vibe as well. So again, she could be one of my top ones for cottagecore, for example, even though she's not really that super popular or anything, but I think she's also a good villager suggestion for cottagecore etc. Let's get to the next villager suggestion, shall we? For my next villager suggestion, I'm going to recommend Toby, only because I kind of like his sort of neutral colour vibe going on here, even though his exterior is pretty dark, isn't it? But inside his house interior is more like a library, so I can think he could probably own his own community centre, on your cottagecore island or something like that. You know what I mean? I've got a lot of high expectations for Toby, for example, but I could also recommend a few others, but I'm thinking I probably won't do that in my part 2 video though, only because there's so many cottagecore suggestions there are, I couldn't really decide, so I probably went with a few others that I could probably suggest for cottagecore, for example. And plus, what I'm probably going to say is, if you guys are looking for neutral villagers like Toby, I recommend him straight away, because even though he could also be involved in it could also be a villager suggestion for Gothcore as well, because he kind of looks a bit, creepy as well. So you could always say that it could be probably in both Cottagecore and Gothcore. But I was just thinking, just for today, he'll be a good suggestion for Cottagecore for you guys if you want him on your island, etc. Let's get to the next one, shall we? So our next video suggestion I have is Mabel. Well, I'm thinking she'll make a perfect, like, you know, cottagecore video that you probably want to go with anyway, only because one thing, she's popular, one thing, she's a cub, so you're thinking to yourself, cubs could always fit in cottagecore very well and that stuff. And plus, I feel like her actual design actually gives me, like, you know, cottagecore vibes straight away and that stuff. And plus, I like how her exterior and interior match the cottagecore vibe as well. So I'm pretty happy how her house interior and interior turned out very well. So I was quite happy with that, really. And plus, I was thinking to myself is that if you guys like, you know, want to put her on your video hunting list or something like that, I recommend it. But sometimes when I go on, like, you know, go on these, like, you know, dream addresses, sometimes I see Mabel on there a lot. So basically, she probably be like, you know, want like number one cottagecore video suggestion that I'll probably give to you guys today, only because I have seen her a lot on Cottagecore Islands and she's definitely like, you know, very suitable when it comes to it as well. So I'm thinking if Cottagecore's like, you know, one of your favourite island cores and you're looking for videos like this, then I recommend Mabel for you, okay? So let's get to the next one, shall we? So for our next video suggestion I have Blair. Well, there might be a few squirrel videos that might fit Cottagecore, but I'm thinking Marshall, Blair, and probably a few others, only because they're both kind of fit, like, you know, the vibe very well. And plus, looking at her, like, you know, exterior, as you can see on screen, it's kind of like, you know, kind of semi-neutral, but I know that like the door's a bit like, you know, it's got a bit of a dark brown colour and that stuff. But inside, she's got like a few different like colours as well to go with the neutral vibe. But I'm thinking to myself, if you guys don't like the purpleness in her house, you could always, like, you know, remodel it if you wanted to, if you had Happy Home Paradise etc as the DLC etc, because I feel like if you had a DLC you can do more things with it. And sometimes if you're doing like a cottagecore island, I recommend remodeling their houses if you don't like it etc. It depends on your opinion when it comes to seeing their houses, like, you know, the exterior part of it and the interior part of it, just in case it don't fit the vibe well, so who knows. But again, I feel like Blair will fit the vibe very well, but she could also, like, you know, own a bakery on the island if you wanted to do that for Blair, etc. So let's get to our next video suggestion, shall we? Our next video suggestion, we have Poppy. Well, I'm thinking to myself, I quite like more of the interior of her house when it comes to the exterior. I feel like the exterior is like lost a bit of neutral colours, which is a bit unfortunate. I feel like we could probably, like, you know, remodel the exterior of her house, just to make it, like, you know, suit the cottagecore vibe a little bit better. But the interior really surprises me because there's a lot of like cottagecore elements inside there. Like, you've got all like the new sort of furniture, or maybe, like, you know, past furniture that we've had before 2.0 etc. But I'm thinking to myself is that probably won't be the best video suggestion for you. And if you guys are like looking for Poppy in particular and you think she'd probably be the best video suggestion that you could probably, like, you know, obviously want to come to your island, then yeah, go after her, okay? Let's see what our next video suggestion is. For our next video suggestion, I'm going to recommend Patina. Well, I know she's like, you know, like a little mouse villager, but I'm thinking to myself she could also be a neutral colour, because I'm thinking neutral can be, like, you know, anything when it comes to the colour palette of neutral colours etc. But I'm thinking I like how her house exterior looks very neutral coloured, so I'm thinking that's why I've kind of thought, why not have her as a cottagecore villager as well, because I don't see her often on Cottagecore Island for some reason. I feel like she could be another good suggestion that I could probably obviously give to you guys today, so you know what I mean. And plus she owns her own little bakery, as you can see in her interior. She's got like a lot of, like, you know, elements of like own her own little business on the Cottagecore Island if you wanted to have her as a cottagecore villager etc. Well, who knows, if you guys do want to have her on your islands, it sort of depends on your opinion, to be honest. Let's see who our, like, you know, last video suggestion I have for you guys today. The last video suggestion we have Fauna. Well, I'm kind of thinking to myself she would definitely make a very good cottagecore villager on your islands, only because her house exterior is very neutral, and so as her exterior too, and so it makes me feel like, yeah, Fauna will fit the vibe, but you could always have, like, you know, a few other deer villagers as well that I could probably, like, you know, recommend in part 2 etc if need be. But I know Cottagecore's, like, you know, the most famous iron core there is in Animal Crossing New Horizons, so I thought I was really happy to make a video on it today for you guys. So hopefully this video is kind of helps you out a lot in that stuff, you know what I mean? Make sure to leave a like on this video. If you're new to my channel and want to see more of my content, please subscribe, because there's a variety of content I enjoy. Might involve Animal Crossing content and Miitopia content. Well, I'm definitely doing Miitopia content next week for definitely that, and I might want to show you how to make your famous YouTuber, but I was thinking I might have to select one that I might want to show you guys who I might have made or something like that, just so you guys know what I can probably do in the future, okay? And also turn notifications for other Animal Crossing and Miitopia content from me, so I say bye for Radio Crossing, and I'll see you in the next one, so bye!